Alright, so some more myofascial release exercises. We're going to start with a really important one here on the wall, which is for your rhomboids and the space here between your shoulder blades. So the reason I say this is important, so if you do follow my other videos and you do some of my postural exercises, you'll note that a lot of the exercises require you to squeeze your shoulder blades back and then posteriorly tilt your pelvis, and then you get a very strong contraction and pull here between the shoulder blades. And the whole idea is to get your rounded posture back to here, yeah? And you need that strong pull between your shoulder blades to create this. Now, obviously, you've got an imbalance in your posture. Most people have got this imbalance with rounded posture. So I have to create the opposite imbalance to get you back. So what I'm doing is over-activating these muscles to pull you back into the right postural position. Now, what you might find if you do this for a long time and you're very dedicated with it, that you get a little bit tight here between the shoulder blades. And as long as you do the self-massage, this isn't going to be much of a problem. But you could find that you do get tight between the shoulder blades if you do a lot of these postural exercises. So, and you also, even if you don't, you're kind of in this your muscles here are in this overly lengthened position because of your rounded shoulders, so they'll need to be released anyway. So it's a very good exercise. It's probably one of the more painful ones on the upper body. So just grab the ball, and I want you to place it right at the top of your shoulder blade, and we're just going to kind of very slowly zigzag from the top of the shoulder blade to the bottom of the shoulder blade, between the shoulder blade and the spine. So it's going to look like this, so I'm going to put it over this way. And then once you're on the wall, I want you to pull your arm across like this, and that'll just open up the tissues a little bit and give you a better release. So we're going to spend 2 minutes on that one. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm only going to show you one side, so still do your 2 minutes on both sides. I'm going to show you one side, because I'm going to do quite a few different ones on this wall here. And so we're just getting quite close to the spine. Again, be a little bit careful with the spinal processes here. So we don't want to myofascial release or go directly on the spinal processes, particularly not with a hard ball. With a tennis ball, you'll probably be safe, but still, it's still a good practice not to roll on them. You're just working it in that gap. Okay, to adjust, you may need to just push it down with your hand. And you can adjust your feet as well to do this. And this can be a little bit sore, this area. It's probably one of the sorer ones on the upper body. It's also kind of pleasant as well once you've done it a few times. Yeah, with the arm here, you're not stretching it. You know, I'm not doing like a deltoid stretch, you're just pulling it across. So there doesn't need to be any stretch going on here. It's just to open up the tissues. Okay, so that's the space between your shoulder blades and your spine. So the next one I'm going to do is the deltoid. So we're going to pop the ball at the top of the deltoid here, and then we're going to just explore right into the inside, so the medial deltoid, and then the lateral side, so the outsides, and then we're just going to zigzag down here, and you can go up and down a little bit as well. It's just going to look like this, so pop that on the wall. And then you just lean into it. And starting up the top. Quite often what happens with some of these exercises, particularly with your arm on the wall, is the ball will fly out as you squeeze it against the wall. So don't do this next to your grandma's favourite cutlery, because you might find it will just fly out one day and smash it all. And if you've got a dog around that will steal your tennis ball, be careful as well. You can always just kind of hold it with your hand to stop this happening. I often do this at night when my 9-week-old baby is asleep, and then it will squeeze out, bang on the floor, and my wife will be very, very upset with me. She'll wake up the baby. So I've got used to doing this by just holding it with my hand at the same time. It stops me being in the doghouse. Just very slowly moving it around. I'm moving it around a little bit quicker than perhaps I would do normally, but I don't have too many problems up here. And you can get right on the inside of this one, so you'd be facing the wall a little bit, which would be kind of closer to the deltoid up the top here near your pecs. Okay, and then it gets to about here, and it kind of runs out of bits to release. Okay, so you're 2 minutes on there, and on the other side too. The next one is just a bit further down, and it's kind of in between. So we've got kind of the elbow here, and then the tricep kind of attaches on the outside here, and we're going to hit that tricep. It's kind of on the side, directly on the side, and also just behind a little bit. This one I find really sore for me. It might not be for you guys, but I don't know whether this is a hangover from all my squash days. But if I find just the right spot here, you don't have to put much pressure on, and it's, yes, super tender. You don't need to put too much pressure on this one. It should become apparent pretty quickly, particularly if you use a hard ball, but even with a tennis ball you should feel this. So a lot of these releases on the arm may be helpful for things like tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, carpal tunnel, and any obviously any shoulder problems you have. Now I'm leaving the arms, the releasing of the arms, till kind of the last in this MFR series, because it probably is the least important. You want really the most important area is your hips and upper legs to sort out first, and then you can come up, fix these problems, and then finally you start fixing the issues and the myofascial adhesions in your arms. Why do I say that? Well, if I get you to finish this one off, I'll explain why. So if you've got something like tennis elbow or even carpal tunnel, now carpal tunnel's often caused by doing lots of typing and overuse of kind of small muscles here in your wrist, but it could also, particularly the tennis elbow and the golfer's elbow, have a lot to do with your hips, because, like I've said before, hips pull you out of alignment here, which then your upper body reacts to up here, and then of course from this rounded position your shoulder and arm movements have changed over your life. So if your shoulders are in this position, this may very well cause problems at your elbow. Now it's more complicated than you can possibly know, so it's difficult to tell exactly what's causing the problems at your elbow. Everyone's different, everyone's had a completely different life to someone else, different hobbies, different jobs, so you've used your body in different ways. So it could well be that you've got tennis elbow purely from playing tennis, and you've got really good posture in every other regard. Maybe you've got tennis elbow because you paint, and it's come from that, and it's come purely from the movements from your wrist to your elbow. But it's very likely that a lot of it is down to your overall posture. And the source of a lot of your postural problems start at the hips. And it's why this area is super painful to release, because this is where all the problems have begun, where it's all building up, where a lot of the tension is held. So unless you release this area, it's not going to have much of an effect up here. You can release up here, it'll feel better for a while, just like a massage or a trip to the chiropractor. You feel great for a little while, but then the tension just pops straight back on again if you don't sort out the core of the problem. But anyway, I waffle. So that one was the triceps. You can also do the forearms here. So you just lean against the wall like that with your forearms. So I'm just going to go through these really super quickly, so you decide what to do yourself on this one. It's got me nice at the moment. I obviously need a release in this area. So just on the outside of the forearm. You can also do this, if I show you my left hand, just on the inside like that. This may be better to do with a gap in the wall though, which I'll show you. So we're just popping that on the outside. Put a bit more pressure on this one. Generally feels quite pleasant. Okay, so that's some of the exercises you can do flat, again on a flat wall here. Okay, to finish off this MFR series, then I'm going to show you some exercises that you can do with a Theracane. You can pick one of these up for about $30 online. There are some similar products also, but I'll show you some areas you can hit with it. It's generally used more in the upper body, so I can start off with the trapezius here. So this is one that I did with the ball against the wall, but I actually quite like doing it with the Theracane. So you start off on the outside like this. And then as you go up towards your neck, you can adjust the angle here and push down on it. Quite effective. I prefer using this for the trapezius rather than against the wall. Just moving that all the way up. So I'm going to show you these super quick. So I wouldn't do the exercise as quickly as this or move as quickly as this, but it's that sort of thing, moving up, and we can go right up to the neck on this as well. So that's the trapezius. And if I do one laying down, also you can do the psoas and the iliacus coming in here. So this is a hip flexor that runs kind of into your groin area here. So you just pop the Theracane at about a 45-degree angle, and then you just push underneath there's kind of a hip bone here that you'll want to follow. And you just go underneath the bone here, the crest of your hip. And then you just push in there. This is a really nice one if you're not very comfortable getting on your front. So if you're a little bit uncomfortable on the ball, this is a nice relaxing position, and you can just put quite a bit of force by pushing down on the top of the Theracane here. So again, you do a couple of minutes on each side for that one. This can also be used for the lower back. So just popping in there for the lower back. So just getting underneath. So this was the quadratus lumborum release. So for this one, you just push it up, tuck it under your back, and push it up there. Again, being careful not to hit the spinal processes as you do it. Sometimes it's good to switch this one and the ball. I usually use the ball for this release, but just sometimes it's good to switch it up and do something different. This will hit it in a slightly different way. look like that. You can also do the outside of your shoulder blades using this. So if I show you moving down, you can get really into the outside of your shoulder blade with this, which is a nice release for me. One of the releases that you can only really do with one of these is the scalenes and the sternocleidomastoids. So we've got, these will run up, starting from the ear here, and they'll move down. So it feels like they're almost like guitar strings here. So start off on the guitar strings, and very light pressure here. There's a lot going on in your neck, lots of arteries, veins, nerves. So just take care on this one, just be super light. You don't need much pressure anyway. So just pushing in. Good one to do this one if you've got forward head posture. And then you'd work all the way up to almost behind the ear. So almost behind the ear there. So yeah, you get a lot of, if you have forward head posture like this, these neck muscles here are likely pulling you into that position. Obviously don't just focus on the neck muscles. You know, you've got a lot going on elsewhere that is more important to release. But as we get into these smaller muscle groups, they're something that you might consider releasing from time to time. And so let's go into a couple of others. This might help if you've got like migraines or anything like that. So we're going to do actually into the mandibles and the jaw. Just find that muscle there and just push in. So there's a jaw release there, and there's a release in your temporalis muscle here. Again, these you have to be super light and careful in these areas. But you know, if you have this hunched over posture, everything's going to be tight here. Even your jaw's going to be tight, and your temporalis muscle's going to be tight because it's all connected in that frontline myofascial chain. So you might find that if you're getting headaches and things like this, these are good areas to release. But this is a kind of something from time to time. The main areas to release are around your hips. And any area that's very painful is the place to do it. These are only just minor areas that you can play around with, but I just thought I'd show you some of the little areas that you can do. You can basically do almost any area of your body, even your hands. So putting your hands on a ball to do the palmar fascia in your hands. So there's a lot of areas you can do. I'm sure I've given you enough ideas so you can kind of play around for yourself on a lot of these. I hope you enjoyed this MFR series, and I hope it's very useful for you. Just remember that this takes time. It takes time to break up the fascia, but if you are quite dedicated with it, you'll see some really good results with it. With pain reduction, you'll improve your range, and you should improve the way you move, even without doing the postural and gait training exercises that I would prescribe on top of this. But it's not an easy road to get your posture back to where it should be. But it's one worth taking. Just remember, if it was an easy, quick fix, everyone would have good posture, and they clearly don't. So it's something worth sticking with, and you can do it.